Himalaya.
You're listening to the Girl with Self-Esteem Issues, a Himalaya learning podcast to access my Own Your Shit handbook filled with key insights and exercises. And to join a community where you can talk directly to me, go to himalaya.com/Rosie and enter code Rosie at checkout for 14 days, absolutely free. I hope to chat with you there. I'm Rosie Mercado, and this is the Girl with Self-Esteem Issues, the podcast that explores the ways in which we can better our lives and ourselves. Our guest today is life coach, a speaker, an author, and podcaster. Welcome to the show, Mike Bayer. How are you? It's so good to have you. Oh my God. How are you?
Rosie, it's so good to see you, and you look incredible. So hopefully this video is captured because I don't even know how. I got to imagine what color is that eyeshadow?
You know what? I love you for that. It is, my eyes right now look like a golden sunset. Thanks to shout out to my makeup artist. We've been playing with color and just having fun, trying to do new things, trying new things out just because it's all, it's a hit and miss. You never know what you're going to get, but thank you for asking. I have like a sunset. It's like a yellow with gold.
It is. I love it.
Well, we're going to start our day. We always love to start with inspiration. And today's quote comes from singer-songwriter Ellie Holcomb. And it goes like this: when you make a mistake, respond to yourself in a loving way rather than a self-shaming way. What do you think about that quote?
I think that's so, it's such a useful tool. I think we all, whenever we make it's always like when you lead with the right intention. I always think people struggle to be themselves because they'll lead with intention and someone may react a certain type of way. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I did something wrong and I'm wrong. When the reality is, if your intention's right, ain't no shame in that game, you know?
Yeah. I just feel, especially I think with everything that's happened and so many changes, life has changed so drastically, it completely has changed, but that doesn't mean that, it's not everything is a bad thing. There's new opportunities that arise. There's new awakenings that come with this. I think more now than ever, it's so important to be connected to the people that you love and come from a place of gratitude. But I feel that now that we've had this time to be quarantined alone and the self-reflection comes, people are beating themselves up because of failure, because of mistakes. They're shaming themselves. And when they shame themselves, it's that mental voice inside their head constantly telling them everything that they're not doing, comparing themselves to someone else's next big thing that they're showing on social media. Or if they feel ashamed about something, they're locking themselves up and secluding themselves from the world and not living. And I think now more than ever, I think this is a conversation that we have to have. How do you become your best self? How do you get over that moment of failure? How do you deal with that failure? Is failure bad? Creating that conversation and giving it a new perspective.
Yeah, you're so right, because so many people view failure as, I did a poll recently on Instagram, and I did on my Facebook, my Twitter, my TikTok, all different platforms. And I said, how many of you, I'm curious, are single? 67% of people on average were single.
Really? That's a big number. Yes. That's a big number.
I know. I was shocked. And that's my Facebook demos, 45 and up female, 80%. My Instagram demo is 65% men. And TikTok's younger. And I just thought to myself, I know a lot of people out there even, they think there's something wrong with them because they're not in a relationship. But then the majority of people aren't. It's
the majority, and that says a lot, because as humans, we love and want and crave connection and being with someone else. And it's just part of our life. But if you don't have it now, number one, doesn't mean that you're failing. Number two, it doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. I think there's a timing for everything. And I feel in order to attract that person that you want in your life, you can't just ask for it. You really have to be that as well. You got to meet them there. And I feel people are really lost right now. Would you say that would be true? They're kind of lost trying to find themselves because they thought they were on this path, and then boom, everything shuts down. And it's I really have to look at myself. I got to look at who I'm living with. What am I doing? What am I about? Life forced a new direction.
Oh yeah. I mean, years of developing and building into what one maybe thought they were, career wise, even, it suddenly flips it on its head because everyone to some degree had to reinvent a little bit in their career and or in their life or the people around them or like certain activities that were such a part of our life today before and they're not today. And so I found that a lot of people uh, have felt disconnected or a bit lost that I've come across.
Yeah.
One of the businesses I own is a treatment center. And so historically at the treatment center, so we treat people who have alcohol and addictions. And then we'll also have people who are straight depression or straight anxiety or mental health. And what's interesting is when COVID hit, we went to about 90% mental health, like 10% addiction, which is normally we have a
Really?
lot. Yeah, because all of the people addicted to substances didn't have someone constantly around. They weren't getting as much trouble. They weren't at family gatherings where somebody was saying you need to pull it together. They weren't showing up at their job where the job would catch them and say you need to do something about it. So what happened was we saw a huge increase with people who primarily were dealing with anxiety, people who had never dealt with anxiety before. When
Wow.
COVID hit, our anxiety admissions went through the roof. And then now people are getting back together a little bit more, connecting.
Yeah.
And so a lot more people are maybe seeking help, but like the drug addicts went underground. They all
Wow.
went underground. Yeah.
So everybody that's still dealing with anxiety because of the changes, or just, I mean, I'm still kind of stuck in that number going back to the relationships. I'm still stuck on that number that it's so high. Why do you think there's so many single people out there?
I think there's so many single people because there's a false expectation about what love is today. So I think we're taught uh, about this perfect relationship or perfect intimacy. I think that think about it, like even on social media, I mean, relationships are put out there. People aren't putting out their unhealthy
The,
relationship. They're putting out,
their best
and
moments.
I've seen a lot of people suddenly they get a divorce and everyone's like, oh my God, I'm
How did that
shocked.
happen? Yeah. When did this happen? Hold on. Like, I can't believe you're getting a divorce.
Right. But how else, like a lot of people are afraid they're going to lose a following or people won't buy into what they have to say. So they keep up this image. And I just think I mean, it's interesting. I have so many thoughts around single, not single, like what it all means. Like, I just think it's, like life is such a loose garment and it's like, what's your fit and like, what's your realistic fit,
What do you think healthy love is?
Honesty, transparency, encouragement, empowerment, connection,
Yeah.
safety, unique, like it's dynamic, it's connection, to me, it's, everyone has their flaws, but I think there's just a safety. To me, a healthy love is when there's so much safety and vulnerability and honesty that only really happens between those two parties.
And it's so hard to be able, I think nowadays people are so afraid of being vulnerable because they're afraid of rejection. They're
Mm.
afraid that they're afraid to be seen as who they are. And I think that's why there's such a lack of authenticity, because either you got rejected, you don't want to go through that pain again. And you're like, oh my God, if I go through this again, maybe nobody's going to love me. Like automatically you go into the negativity side. Like, is anybody ever going to love me if they really know who I am or what I've
Well,
gone through?
let me ask you, so when you were single up forever, you said until the last 2 years, how many of your thoughts while you were single were, I'm not going to meet someone?
You know what? I'm going to tell you the truth. It was my last relationship that I was like, oh my God, here I go again. Yet another divorce. And who the hell is going to love me after all the mistakes that I've done? And I have kids. Who's gonna want someone that's been married as many times as I have, and I have kids? Like, I'm done. Like, it was I went into this negativity because it was failure after failure. And granted, it was two people that came together that made a decision, but I ignored the red flags. then I come to this negativity where I'm like, I'm blaming everybody else for it. But at the end, I ignored the red flags. I had to learn to take responsibility and I had to work on myself. So I took this period of time where I worked on myself. The moment that I found myself loving who I was, knowing what I liked and what I wanted, and just focused on being present,
Mm.
everything else showed up and the excuses went away. Hey, look, I'm human. I made mistakes. Failure taught me a lot. It made me the woman that I am. It's going to be okay. In the right timing, the right person's going to show up. But while he shows up, let me work on me and let me show my kids a healthy relationship, not only between them and I, but let me focus on becoming a better human being. And I think
And
that for
how
me was
much
that.
when you started to do that, how shortly after would you say, I know it's a process, but once you made a decision not to blame, to own it, to make a commitment, how long after that did you run into the relationship you're in now?
So I'm currently married, going on 2 years. And it took exactly to get to the place where I was completely just owning and living life and being present and really acknowledging the mistakes that I had made and grown from. It took me, I'm not going to lie, it took me about 10 years. It took me about 10 years. It was not an overnight process because I had a lot of healing that I had to do, a lot of healing. But in the healing, there was doing. And I was constantly seeking to become better and better and understand my triggers, understanding my wants and needs, and then also understanding that there was more to life than just a relationship. It was the relationship with myself, the relationship with my kids, apologizing to my kids for the things that I had done and repairing those relationships, understanding their love language. So there was a lot of growth that I had to go through in order to attract a healthy relationship. But I chose to do
Mm.
the work. There was a lot of inner work that I had to do, lots of it. And sometimes it was not pretty. Sometimes I did not want to face that. I was afraid to. And I didn't want to own to my
Yeah.
mistakes. It was too shameful to say, hey, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that goes. Now, you're an amazing life coach. Like you are like, I was telling you, like when I hear Coach Mike, like the first time I met you, like Coach Mike is going to be here, and we were at Paramount, and I'm like, oh man. And I saw you. You are tall, you're handsome, and you were just like you were well put together in your suit. And I'm like, oh my god, he's bringing his game. Like he's gonna just drill. Like he's this kind of coach that's just gonna show him. And that was like literally my thought. And then you were like the most loving person ever. You called it as you saw it, but you just came from a place of love. What got you to this path and becoming that man?
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I could tell you that, like anyone who gets into the helping profession, and you know this, and you go through a lot of pain
Yeah.
to get to the light. Um, I think for me, I'm in recovery. I was addicted to drugs when I was younger. I did really poorly in school. I was held back in kindergarten and the eighth grade. So I was held back twice because I didn't get good grades. I went to treatment several times. And then finally, this last time when I was 22 years old. And, I just have a real passion and drive for helping others. I also love, I love collaborating and I think there's this thing in self-help or a stigma. When I say stigma, it's like it has to be serious all the time and it has to be like just so serious, right? Like there's this idea,
Yeah.
if you ever see it in television shows, it's so serious. The psychologist or therapist is being with someone. And I just think like we get well through laughter and fun and
Thank
being
you.
self-deprecating and like being like I've been there, and it's just
Yeah.
who I am.
What is it like when you get to work with someone? What does that mean to you? Like what has it become? Because I know it's like it's an amazing feeling when you see someone have a breakthrough. But what is it
Yeah.
like what I mean, and you've gone through a lot. Like how did
Mhm.
you like have that breakthrough for yourself?
Well, I'm one of those that I'm a learner, so I'm a sponge. So when I got sober, I was like, tell me how to do it. I want to learn how to do it. And I did everything that I thought that people did when I got that advice. And I think that, it's almost like there's a saying, half measures avail of nothing. That's like a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous, which really is like, if you half-ass something, you're going to it be half-assed. And
Yeah.
so I try my best to kind of really go my fullest. And you know, it's interesting. Like after I was sober, you know, I was wearing my dad's suits because I couldn't afford one. And then before I know it, I'm like traveling the world for 7 or 8 years, working with entertainers and being on music tours. And people are like, my phone's ringing all the time for people wanting to help them, whether it's through breakups or addictions or whatever. And, you know, I, I've just found that like I just feel connected to this world when I'm helping others.
Yeah.
And I'm more connected to myself at times. Like I just selfishly find more purpose in life, you know?
All right. So you've written multiple books about bettering yourself. How did you push yourself to be your best self? Like, how did you get there? You go through all this, you're going and helping celebrities, you're real connected, you feel good about paying it forward, and then you write books. What did that teach you?
Well, in full honesty, I never had an intention of writing a book. I was just like, oh my God. First of all, I was like, you know, like a lot of people write books, and then I'm like, what the heck am I going to write about? And then I met Dr. Phil. He asked me to come on an episode. I've since then done 40 in the last 2 years, which is a lot. And it's been a lot of fun. But he's like, you know what you need? Because I'm not a therapist. I have therapists who work for me, but I'm not a therapist. He's like, you need to write a book and you need to give your message to other people who need to hear the message. And so I just took whatever inspires me with helping people. The last book I wrote is called Best Self.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I do is I mix art with self-help. So in Best Self, you create kind of this avatar or character that is your best self. Mine's a wizard named Merlin. He's tattooed on my arm.
Oh,
He's on my
wow.
lampshade. Yeah, so everyone creates their own, right? Because our
Yeah.
parents give us names. But at a soulful level, like how do we feel like when we're being our best? That's kind of a guide into looking at all the areas of your life and really being what I call your best self, which is really your like enlightened self, you know?
And how does one get there?
Oh, Lord.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, look,
that's like the question of the day. Like, how do we start getting there? I mean, are you happy with yourself right now where you're at in your life? Like all the work that you've done. I mean, you've accomplished a lot.
yeah, I mean, I think you know, life is one of those things that's so up and down. So it's like I could be helping someone who has 5 days sober, and I've been sober over 18 years, and I could literally, they seem really happy in that moment. And it's like they're happier than I am in that moment, right? Like they have a happiness in this one moment where I may be stressed out thinking about, I need to walk my dog. So I just think everything's so impermanent. I
Yeah.
think the difference now is I have the tools. Like I know what I need to do if I want to get through problems, or I know what I need to do if I'm feeling anxious, or I know what I need to do if I'm feeling depressed, or I know what I need to do if I want to be more spiritually connected. So I think like as we get older and we work on ourselves, we just start to develop new tools, but life happens.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think like I'm so grateful that I went through a lot of hardships when I was younger, because then I got to, you know, help others. And to be honest, that's like what I love to do. Like it's like I run a free empowerment group every Tuesday, which I would love for you to come on.
Oh my
Love
God, that
if
would
you're
be
down.
amazing. Yes, I'm down. I'm so down. You
Okay.
and I are
It's
so
amazing.
alike in so many ways.
Yeah, no, we've connected right off the bat, you know,
Yeah.
and I would love for you to be a guest on there. And you know, it's me connecting with people from all over the world. And I would say the majority of stuff, I don't even make any money, and I love it. It's just I think for me it's like how to have a lifestyle where I also happen to have a profession,
Yeah. So
you
you
know?
talk about having tools. So there's moments, and this is
Yeah.
what I love. I love that you say this because everybody thinks, okay, you're a life coach, you're working with Dr. Phil, you're doing all the things that you love, and that like you've reached like ultimate success, and therefore you're happy all the time, and nothing
Uh-huh.
bad ever happens to you. But we're human. Everything happens. There's highs, there's lows. It happens to everybody. What are
Hmm.
some of your like tools, your go-to tools? If you're going through depression, what are, things that you automatically know? All right, I got to turn this around. This is what I do.
for me, like simple, easy tools is honestly like music. Music that, music hits you in a different type of way. And it seems like, oh yeah, like sometimes we think we need to go on top of a hill and levitate and, eat goji berries and somehow we're happier. But the reality is
It's
sometimes we
simple.
got to just turn on a good jam.
Yeah. Change your state automatically. Start changing that
Yeah.
state. What about when you're dealing with anger? How do you like let go, blow some steam off? Like you're just like, all right, I'm like, I got to do something about this.
Well, for one, I try my best not to put it on other people. So that's to what you're saying. Like I try to separate myself because, when we're angry, we say things that we don't mean, honest, like authentically.
Yeah.
So sometimes a nap is good.
Oh, I
Sometimes
never thought about that. Let me go take a nap. That's so easy to do.
you
I
just
never
get
thought about
away
that.
from it.
Yeah, get away from it. Take a breather before you react or say something stupid that could totally ruin a relationship. Sometimes we open
Yeah.
our mouths and we say the stupidest things. What do you think is keeping people from becoming their best selves? Like what holds someone up?
I think it's people who are not interested in becoming self-aware. I posted about this recently, like a victim mentality when you're not a victim, but you're being a victim for others. Like that mentality, there's real victims in this world. Like I go to Iraq, I help women who's lost their husbands and
Yeah.
kids and tragic events. But sometimes there's people that literally, and we all know people like this. And at times we've maybe even been in this headspace where we just blame other
Okay.
people
Yeah.
and we can't get out of it. And so when we're in blaming, we're not able to really have awareness and go, okay, what's my part in it? Like, how did I end up here? And how do
Asking
I,
the right questions. Asking the
yeah.
right questions. I think that's so important. So you get to do all these amazing things. You write your book. What for you was the hardest part about writing the book?
My hardest part of writing the book, honestly, and I have another book coming out in December. And my book's also in Spanish. It's called, I think, El Mejor. Mejor, did I say it right?
Oh, you
I
said
don't.
it right. You said it
Okay.
right. El mejor. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time and doing it, like making sure, because it is a choice to make a book in Spanish and pushing it out. So that's amazing that you are honoring Latinos everywhere. So El
Oh my
mejor.
God.
That's amazing.
Listen,
That's good. Thank you. Thank
let me
you.
tell you, I have a home in Miami. I mean, I would say the majority of people in my life, their cultures aren't from here. I know this is not very coachy to say, but I find I love other cultures. So everyone on my team is different cultures, like Mexican, like Colombian, Brazilian, Persian. Like I'm like the Epcot Center at my house. Okay. So it's like, I love that. But I think the hardest thing for writing a book is I have a thing about not being like anyone else. And so I don't, it's being as thoughtful as possible. It's talking to somebody's heart. And it's also the challenge of not being narcissistic or feeling like you have something to prove. And it's just, for me, it's grueling. Like, to be honest, it's tough. I mean, I know you have a book coming out in a month.
Yeah, mine took about 2.5 years to do. Like it's a memoir. Like when I'm telling you I put it all out there, I put it all out there. And there was some like moments where I'm like, wow, we're really going there, huh? Well, let's do this. Let this be a blessing to someone else. Like I don't care what anybody says, this is what I lived, and this was a dark moment. So that was rough for me. Like
Wow.
that part was rough for me.
Right when it comes out, you should. I mean, I would love to get a galley or something ahead of time, and I'll buy it, of course. What is it called?
It's called The Girl with the Self-Esteem Issues, just like the
Just like the
podcast.
podcast.
Just like the podcast. I was actually going to ask, like, if you would actually take the time to read it and maybe give me a quote, see what you think, give me
Yeah,
some
I'll give you a
feedback.
quote for sure, and I'll support you 1,000%. Like I wish more people. I actually thought about doing a post yesterday, and I think I may do it today. I wish people would come to me more often, asking me to promote their stuff, be supportive. Like, send me a shirt, I'll wear it, I'll post it. Like, I've realized in life, like I just feel better. Like I
Yeah.
helping you, with your like, and by the way, I love a girl with self-esteem issues because I'm like, just the title alone, I'm like, the fact you're putting that out there like that,
Thank you.
I love it. Like I'm already, because listen, I love people with self-esteem issues
Well,
because I get it. Because
you know what? I think like that's all of us. Like everybody's gone through that. Like it's not that you live in there constantly, but I think every day is a new day and there's something, a trigger, there's a bad moment that you go through and everybody has something that you don't like about it and you learn to love it and then you start picking at it. Like it's an up and down. So just putting that out there, for me it was not only therapeutic, but you know what? It's like, look, I just want to live an authentic life. This is who I am. I'm not perfect. And you know what? There's nothing to hide. It is what it is. And I made mistakes and I own my mistakes. So coming from that place, but right now, touching on what you said, that you wish more people would ask for help. I think we're in a day and age that if people understood the power of just saying, hey, I need help. Will you support me? You might get a yes, you might get a no, but just the point of going above and beyond and knocking on that door, like you never know where it takes you and just asking and finding people like yourself. I wish more people would say, let me support you because the sun comes out for everybody. Like it comes out and there's so many people out there that will say, I don't think so. Like, or they'll ignore you or they'll never, they won't support you, but comes around and they need the help. Like I don't take those kind of things personally. So thank you for being supportive in that way. But this is like such a great message right there and then. Like I wish people would ask for help. I'm here to help and people don't. So you heard it from him, you guys. You guys need something. He's willing to help. You put it out there. You've put it out there. Now, Mike, this is a moment where I like to take away like lessons. We call this Rosie's takeaways. What was a moment of adversity that like pushed you forward and you're like, that was an aha moment. I learned a lot from that. And that you might not talk a lot about.
I think, there's the big Rosie moment is getting sober and just realizing that sometimes in life we have to fully surrender completely. Like whether it's getting out of a marriage, whether it's getting sober, not that they're the same thing, but like fully surrendering and not fighting. And I think that is something that we have to do over and over and over again. And it's a lesson of letting go and surrendering and like not forgetting about spirituality and the basics of what makes us feel the most fulfilled. To me, it's surrendering and doing what it takes.
How have you learned to surrender?
I have to say to myself, I am one person out of billions on this planet. The world does not revolve around me. I am grateful for this moment and for this life and for everything that is around me. And I'm just going to do the next right thing that my soul is telling me to do. And that's, what I have to remind myself. And which I love that you talk about, at the end of the day, it's being you, because being you, not being you will end up in causing a lot of stuff that gets out of alignment. And who everyone is equal and awesome and beautiful and special and tortured and talented, and we're all in this together. And just even a life coach like me needs life coaching from others. So
everybody needs a little bit of everybody else. That is a strong truth. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, to just be real and just talk a little bit about everything. It's really amazing to connect with you, and I'm always here to help in anything that I can and support you. And just congratulations on everything that you've accomplished. You truly are a living person that's really grounded and humble. Where can people find you on social media?
Coach Mike Bear on all social media handles. And also if anyone ever wants to come to our empowerment group, just coachmikebear.com. So I'm Coach Mike Bear on everything.
Thank you so much, Mike, for being on with us. This is the podcast, The Girl with the Self-Esteem Issues. Thank you for listening. Chances are you are not quitting because you set a goal too high, or you feel like quitting because you have not set appropriate steps to achieving that goal. Breaking a bad habit might take longer than forming a new one, but in the process of forming a new positive habit, you are slowly breaking that bad one along the way. So set a goal and follow these steps to make sure that you're breaking bad habits and forming new positive ones for long-term success. Number 1, take small steps to setting patterns. Patterns don't take a hold instantly. It takes time for a pattern to become a pattern or for an action to become a habit. Next is asking quality questions. How bad do you want to be successful at breaking a bad habit and forming a positive one? Use that strength to remove temptations from your life. Did you know that certain people also trigger giving into our bad habits? Avoiding these people and their influence is the best solution to getting away from any triggers that they may cause. Out of sight, out of mind. Next is love yourself. Loving yourself is a big key in removing the chains your addiction or bad habits have locked you into. Fighting the need to use or give into your bad habits can be very exhausting, often resulting in caving in. This is where a strong mind and strong love for yourself comes into play. When you are in that moment, ask yourself, will this really be better for me? I love myself too much to give into this habit that will only make me feel temporary pleasure. Always here to learn, always here to grow with you. Thank you for listening to The Girl with Self-Esteem Issues. If you want to know more about my journey, be sure and check out my memoir, The Girl with Self-Esteem Issues, available both in English and Spanish through HarperCollins and HarperOne. You can find the link to purchase in the show description or wherever you're listening to this podcast. Hi, this is Rosie Mercado with the Girl with Self-Esteem Issues podcast, and this is the look of the day. My top is provided by ViciDolls.com, jewelry by Melinda Maria Jewelry, makeup by Drea, hair by Jennifer Arias, and of course, nails by Lily. Thank you for listening to the Girl with Self-Esteem Issues, a Himalaya learning podcast. To access my Own Your Shit handbook filled with key insights and exercises, and to join a community where you can chat directly with me, go to Himalaya.com/Rosie and enter promo code Rosie at checkout for 14 days. Absolutely free. I hope to see you there.